as a child, backpacking and camping with family. But in 2010, I was working a job that I really had grown tired of. And I said, man, I got to do something different. And I bought a ticket to Japan. I think the biggest thing is spend a lot of time before your hike. Go in, get measured, see what your arch looks like. If you have a blister, the worst thing you can do is rip it off. Because then you've got an open sore there that you're going to have a really tough time with. The most important thing is getting a pack that isn't too small, so you say somewhere down the line, I wish I had brought this, I didn't have enough space. I'm not very brand specific when it comes to socks. I want merino wool, I want no cotton anything. That goes for socks or base layers or t-shirts. Trekking poles are one of two items that changed my trajectory of hiking. When I started the AT, I didn't have trekking poles. I was 27, 28, and I thought, those are for old people. I don't want to look at my trip as a failure if I don't complete the entirety of the trail. More than likely, the trail will be there, so I'll have another opportunity.
Hello, pilgrims. Welcome to the Way to Your Why podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something really interesting for all the pilgrims, regardless if they're going to the Camino or to any other trail that they would like to hike. We have here today an expert that has been working for a long time in an outdoor stores, and then also has walked himself several trails on different parts of the world. So we're going to be interviewing him today for you to take in consideration those recommendations for your future hike or the Camino trail hike. So welcome, Derek, and thank you for accepting our invitation. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Efren. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk about the Camino and help folks continue their hiking journeys.
Okay, thank you very much. And can you explain you about yourself and how you joined into this world of selling, hiking gear and all that? How you joined into this world?
Yeah, so in 2010, I'd grown up as a child backpacking and camping with family. But in 2010, I was working a job that I really had grown tired of. And I said, man, I got to do something different. And I bought a ticket to Japan for 3 months and then spent my first 3 months backpacking through Japan. So I landed in Tokyo, went up to Sendai, and then hiked up to Sapporo in the top of Japan. Spent 3 months hiking. Actually met an American there, and he said, hey, if you enjoy hiking and backpacking, read Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods and think about doing the Appalachian Trail. I said, that sounds interesting. So I came home, bought the book, read it, and thought, yeah, maybe this is something I could do. And about 5 days later, I was at Springer Mountain in 2011 with a 78-pound backpack, getting ready to try an Appalachian Trail thru-hike. I was successful in that. My pack when I finished was 22 pounds. So you can see from the start at 78 to when I finished at 22, I learned a lot of what I needed to know very quickly. After that, I took my mom on her first backpacking trip in 2012. We went down to Argentina and Uruguay. We did some hiking through there. I came back. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I thought, yeah, REI seems like a place that aligns with my values and what I want to do. So I picked up a job at REI, worked there on and off for about 8 years now. I've since been back to Japan. I hiked the Kumano Kodo. I hiked Mount Fuji. And it's going to be something that I will continue to do the rest of my life. I enjoy being in the outdoors. I enjoy hiking and camping and getting into nature. And then working with REI, I've really started to enjoy getting folks out on their own adventures, showing them that while the skill sets are complicated and there are a lot of them, it's not something that they need to be worried of when they have the right gear, they have the right knowledge. I think anybody can go out there and achieve their goals for getting out and enjoying the outdoors.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting information so that you join all that adventure, just not from yourself, from other people when they're going to, and they tell you about that.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of folks come into REI. We've talked about what they want to do, where they want to go, how they want to hike, and it's fantastic when they come back and show me pictures and say, "Hey, you were instrumental in helping me achieve my AT through hike. Hey, I went and did the Camino, and you were a big part of why I was successful." So I love hearing that kind of stuff. It makes me happy to show folks that just go out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, yes. And when you are walking one of those caminos that you already walk, those experiences, what could be your main recommendation? Let's say talking about shoes, for example.
Okay, for shoes, I think the biggest thing is spend a lot of time before your hike. Go in, get measured, see what your arch looks like. Do you have a high arch? Do you have a low arch? What does your foot shape look like? That will kind of dictate what kind of footwear to go into. Now, if you're going to be doing a long hike, or if you're going to be doing a hike where you have really rough terrain, I would suggest buying multiple pairs of those hiking shoes and then breaking those shoes in here so that when you're out on the trail and you need a new pair of shoes sent to you, those shoes are already broken in. So you don't have to worry about the break-in process while you're hiking. You know that the shoes you're getting are already going to be comfortable. You couple that with good merino wool socks, and you couple that with the fact that anytime you notice something going on with your feet, whether it's a hot spot, whether it's a tiny pebble, you immediately stop and address those issues before they become major problems. I think that's the biggest thing you can do when looking at footwear.
Okay. And when happen blister, because blister may happen, regardless of all the measures that you take, that is still blister can appear. What would be the actions that someone need to take if blister happen?
So if you have a blister, the worst thing you can do is rip it off, because then you've got an open sore there that you're going to have a really tough time with. So what I've always done is part of my first aid kit consists of a sewing needle and sewing thread. So if I notice that I have a blister, I put moleskin on it if I'm on the trail. If I'm in camp, when I get ready to go to bed at night, I'll take that needle and that thread, and I'll push the needle and thread through the blister, take the needle off so that the thread is continually through the blister. That will allow that blister fluid inside to weep through the thread. In the morning, you'll pull that thread through. That blister will be not a blister anymore. It'll be loose skin that's already starting to heal. Once I do that, I put the moleskin back on top, and in about 2 or 3 days, that thing should be back to normal.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's the same or not, but in Spain, where I've been walking the Caminos, they sell a product, and it's also in Amazon. You can find it here in the US in Amazon as well. That is called Compete. And that Compete is like a Band-Aid, kind of Band-Aid, but the material is looking sometimes even like your toe. It's an artificial toe. And you put that over, and when you're walking, you even don't feel anything.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they make some stuff like, we have it at REI, we make some stuff like that is almost kind of a second skin to go over that blister. So there's a little bit of, I don't know whether it's padding or something inside of there that kind of gives you a buffer between where the blister is and what would be causing the blister, either the sock or part of the shoe. So yeah, if you can find something like that, that would be fantastic.
Okay, that's great. And what about the backpack? What would you should consider? Oh, I'm gonna take 78 liters. I'm gonna take 35 liters. What do you decide that?
Yeah, so I think with the backpack, the most important thing is getting a pack that isn't too small. So you say somewhere down the line, I wish I had brought this. I didn't have enough space. But also not getting a bag that's too big so that you say, well, I put everything that I really need in this pack. Now I have all this extra space. Let me put this extra stuff in just in case. So what I recommend for folks is to get a checklist of the items that you think you're going to need for your hike. Lay all of those items out. and then physically look at what size pack do I need. And I think if you're hiking the Camino and you're not doing any actual backpacking or camping, you're going from albergue to albergue, I would say something in the 28 to 35 liter realm would be sufficient. But the most important part of the backpack is going in and getting your pack sized by doing a measurement. And that measurement is based from your iliac crest, or the top of the hip bone, or the top of the pelvis bone, to your C7 vertebrae. And that gives you a torso length. All of your backpacks are based on that measurement. So the minute we get that measurement, we're able to tell you, this is the size pack that should fit you. And then with that, we kind of go through different packs to make sure that visually it fits well. And then when we put weight in it, that it carries the weight well. Much like the shoes, I want people to go out before their trek and have 4 or 5 trips, even if it's just a simple day trip, to put weight on, get some miles in with that pack. If it's comfortable, fantastic. If it's not comfortable, come back in and let's try something else that'll be comfortable for your trip.
Yeah, that's great to know. And then also, I know that some backpacks have kind of support at the bend of the back of the person that have, I don't know, the cushion. I don't know. What are the cases when those type of a backpack are recommended?
So it sounds like I'm kind of skirting the answer when people ask what backpack I should get. The correct answer is the backpack that feels the best.
Okay.
So regardless of construction, suspension, you buy the pack that with weight feels the most comfortable to you. Okay. Now, I could talk about a pack that I really enjoy, and I think, man, this is one of the best packs I've ever worn. And you could put it on, and you could be like, well, this is not comfortable at all. Well, that pack is not for you.
Okay.
So that's why the fitting is so important, of going in and trying multiple different packs. Now, a lot of the packs that do have some sort of suspension system, they tend to breathe a lot better against your back. So you have mesh against your back rather than the pack just pushing up against you. There's a bit of a buffer there with the mesh. And a lot of those packs move really well with you. They're designed that as you're hiking, the pack moves with your body. So you don't have a big unsprung weight just kind of doing whatever it wants behind you. It's very stationary and stuck to your body. So it's almost like it's built in almost. You shouldn't really even feel it. It should just kind of be like, all right, I'm carrying a little extra weight, but it doesn't feel like it's pushing or intruding anywhere.
Okay, so thank you for that information. And what about the socks? What should you consider to buy? What brand of socks or a different brand of socks?
So I'm not very brand specific when it comes to socks. I want merino wool. I want no cotton anything. That goes for socks or base layers or t-shirts. So we have no cotton. If you know that you are prone to blisters, you could look at sock liners. That sock liner is kind of your first layer of protection against a blister. And there is a company called Right Sock, WRIGHT, and they make a sock liner and sock all in one. So it's one piece. There is no sewn bit for the sock liner. So if you're a very tactile person with your toes, you're not going to have that kind of sewn-in edge that can rub against the toes. And then as I hike, I make sure to, especially if I'm doing any river crossings, swap my socks out whenever they start to get wet. So a lot of the times that I'm hiking, especially during the summer, when I stop for lunch, I'll stop, take my socks off, let my feet breathe, and then when I get back to hiking, put on a new pair of socks, take my old socks, put them on my backpack, tie them up so they don't fall off, and then continue throughout the day.
Okay. And how long should be those socks? Where the height? How high should be outside of the shoe?
It's personal preference. I tend to wear kind of a mid-cut sock if I'm wearing, especially if I'm wearing shorts, because then it's kind of a protective layer for me halfway up my leg for briars or bushes. You can, if you've got a high enough sock, You can take some tape and wrap it inside out around the sock if you're really worried about ticks. And that can kind of be a defensive barrier against ticks because the ticks will crawl up your shoe, crawl up your sock, get stuck on the tape, and not into you. So, yeah, I think height-wise, it's really personal preference on what feels most comfortable for you.
Oh, that's really nice to know that. I didn't know about that. So, and what about clothing? So, what is because of the weather change?
Yeah.
For let's talk about spring and fall. What is the kind of clothing that you should take by that time?
So, I think the most important thing when looking at clothing is being very honest with yourself in how you do in inclement weather. I was born in Pennsylvania, so I'm more attuned to cold weather. So when I go out and hike, I could go out in the freezing cold and have nothing but a short sleeve shirt on and small running shorts and be sufficiently warm when I get up to body temperature. So the first part is just knowing how well you do. I think for a lot of folks, you have a layering system is what we work with when we're talking about hiking. And that layering system is a base layer, and that layer is really designed to help wick moisture away from the body, keep the body dry. On top of that, you have a insulating layer, and that layer is just that. It's designed to help retain as much heat as possible when it's on. And then your third layer is a shell layer, or your outer layer, and that is the layer that's going to be your protectant from wind and water. So on a very basic level, that's kind of your layering system. Now, when we talk about the all-encompassing idea of hiking, then we talk about having good base layers to sleep in. So I have my sleeping clothes, and those are only ever for sleeping. I have my hiking clothes. Those are only ever for hiking. And I have my insulating jacket and my shell jacket. So I have insulating clothes for sleeping. The clothes that I'm hiking in, I generally wear those every single day. So whatever I wore hiking yesterday, I'm going to wear it today. I'm going to wear it tomorrow. I'm going to wear it the next day. Okay. That just limits the amount of clothing that I have, so I can pack more stuff that's more beneficial for me into my pack rather than having 4 or 5 different changes of clothing. And that, we tailor that to seasonality. So we're talking spring or fall. You may need a mid-weight base layer. You may need a heavyweight base layer. If you're like me, you could probably get away with a lightweight base layer. So knowing that all of these things come in different layering thicknesses is very important to make sure that you're comfortable when you're outdoors.
Okay, that's thank you for providing this information. And then what about organization for when you are packing for going there? How you recommend or how you pack yourself when you have gone to those hiking adventures?
Yeah, so the one of the most important things I'm talking about hiking is to hike your own hike. And that at the core just says do what works for you. So after many years, the system that works for me is to go through and get dry bags for all of the things that are detrimental if they get wet. So all of my clothing has separate dry bags. My socks and underwear have a dry bag. My sleeping clothes have a dry bag. My insulating jacket has a dry bag. That way, everything is in its own bag. Each one of those bags is a different color, so everything is color-coded. So whenever I get somewhere and I say, man, I need a new pair of socks, I go in, that's the red bag. It's right there. So having that makes it very easy for me to compartmentalize my pack so that things aren't just strewn in there wherever. And it makes it easy that it's color-coded so I know exactly what is in each bag. I don't need to label it. And now those dry bags are fairly expensive. You're looking at $18 to $26 a bag. So if you have 4 or 5 bags, you've spent $100, $125 just on dry bags. So for a lot of folks, that's not very conducive. So I think in lieu of that, we can use Ziploc bags. We can use a big trash bag inside of our pack as kind of a water protective barrier. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. I recommend folks figure out what way is going to work for them. Try a couple different out, see what works, and continually stick with that.
I've been on the Camino. I've been keeping a pair of sandals for my feet to breathe when I'm not walking through the trail.
Yep.
So, do you recommend that?
Yeah, I think I think it's beneficial to get out of your hiking shoes whenever you're in town, whether it's sandals or a pair of Crocs. I think it's going to be more comfortable for a lot of folks that way. Like I said, it lets your feet breathe a little bit. So yeah, that's something I think for a lot of folks is going to be pretty beneficial if you've got the space in the pack to add some camp shoes or some town shoes, so you're not just wearing the same shoes every day.
And there is any recommendation that for buying those type of sandals, what you should consider for going to one brand or another brand or one kind of another kind?
No, I think just finding something that's going to be comfortable for you. Find something that's lightweight. I mean, that's why I've used the Crocs quite a bit. They're very lightweight. They're pretty indestructible. They float. And they're pretty inexpensive. And for me, they're very comfortable. So that kind of checks all the boxes of something that I want to wear when I'm in camp. That if I forget, I'm not out a lot of money. If it breaks, I'm not terribly upset about it. But it's comfortable, so I can say, all right, this makes me feel more comfortable when I'm in town.
Okay. And what about the poles? Do you recommend to have poles for hiking?
Yeah, absolutely. Trekking poles are one of two items that changed my trajectory of hiking. When I started the AT, I didn't have trekking poles. I was 27, 28, and I thought, those are for old people. I don't need those. And very quickly, everybody that I saw that was a much better hiker, who had done preparation, who had done planning, they all had trekking poles. And I didn't understand it at the time. I got to Neil's Gap on the AT. I bought a pair of trekking poles. It took about a day because I didn't have anybody show me how to use them properly. There's a proper technique to use trekking poles. So it took me about a day to get the technique down. And from that day forward, I will never go hiking without trekking poles. If I plan a hike and I drive 5 hours and I get there and I realize I don't have trekking poles, I'm either going to a shop and buying a pair or I'm driving home. They're that instrumental for me.
Okay. Yeah, I've been using those especially when going down to a hill, because they support you a lot.
Yeah. And they're, I think for a lot of folks, they'll find the most benefit when they're going downhill. You switch to what we call a top grip, you plant both poles, and it really allows you to slow your descent to a more comfortable speed. There's a lot less impact on the knees, but it's also more than just downhill. You've got the ability to use your poles when you're going uphill to really plant and then use your arms to pull yourself uphill. Same when I'm going flatland or, something that isn't extreme up and down. You have the ability to really always have 3 points of contact, so you're a lot more stable with poles than without them, especially on tricky terrain. And the fact that, I'm giving my arms something to do. It takes about 30% of the workload away from your legs and transfers it to your arms. So you're allowed to hike further. It gives you the ability to put less stress on your legs. And it really is one of the most instrumental things I've ever had for backpacking. I highly recommend poles for anybody that wants to go out and do it.
Yes. Then another question then, when you are walking, at least on the Camino, in general, you are walking in a day about 25, 30 kilometers in an average.
Okay.
So let's say that you're walking a Camino, another full Camino. Let's say that you're walking a Camino for 14 days. And then you're walking in average those 25, 30 kilometers per day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend doing any kind of rest day between?
Yeah, I think you just listen to your body. Your body will tell you when it needs the rest. If you're on a very strict timetable and you think, man, I'm not going to finish, but I just don't feel like I'm physically or mentally prepared to hike today, then listen to your body. I think the planning portion, we should plan for 0 days. And if we've done enough prep work beforehand, then we kind of know what our limits are. Hey, I can go and do 25 kilometers, but I'm really beat up at the end of the day. So the next day, I probably can't do 25. Maybe I can only do 20 or 15. So if I'm planning and preparing, and I'm honest with myself, then I can say I can comfortably do 25 a day and keep that pace up. But if I'm not, and I need to take those 0 days, I'm all for it. I'm all for listening to the body. And a lot of your hiking days, whether it's bad weather or bad terrain or a bad mindset, hiking is very selfish in its ethos. And a lot of your hiking days, and one of the things you talk about on the Appalachian Trail or any long distance trail, is to embrace the suck. A lot of hiking days suck. It's raining all day. I don't want to be out here. Nobody's forcing me to be out here. It's nice for some of those days to be able to go into town and say, the next day I just want to reset. I want to be a normal human being again. I want to wake up late. I want to take a shower. I want to enjoy good food. So I think more than just the physical aspect of it, I think taking a 0 day really rejuvenates the mind as well. Hey, this isn't so bad. I do want to be out here. I enjoy this. Just switching that little switch of having a day off really helps a lot of the time.
Yeah, I remember when we walked 2 years ago the Costa Portuguese Camino, that we found an American where we were having a kind of snack, and we were talking to him, and he said, "Well, I'm walking from Lisbon in Portugal, and we were already in Spain at that time." And he said, "I'm tired, so I'm taking my day off today, just to stay here and to enjoy just having a beer, something different." And it's like a reset, like you were talking.
Yeah, I think it's super beneficial having the reset days. Um, yeah, and that is just the mental part of it. If we're dealing with injuries, we may take 2 or 3 or 4 multiple days off in a row. So if you're on a time frame, just set up enough time for those potential zeros or potential injuries, so you're not always rushing and saying, well, no, I have to do this today. I have to get these many miles in. You set up enough time that you have the zeros, you don't feel like you're rushing. And a lot of the times when you're rushing, you may not pay attention to where you're hiking. Your mind may be somewhere else, and that can lead to more injuries. So give yourself enough time. Take the zeros when you need them. It'll really be beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally agree with you. And the nice part about hiking is that nobody's waiting for you, pushing you. It's just yourself,
Yeah,
and everybody go out their own pace.
exactly.
There are times that you're gonna go a little faster, times that you're gonna be a little slower. It's all fine.
Yeah.
But listen to your body, like you're saying.
Yep. Listen to your body, and like I said, hike your own hike. That's the main thing is you're out there for your own reasons. You do
Yes.
the hike how you want to do it.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the other part nice about the Camino is that when you're walking, Spain is a millionary country, so you have a bunch of scenes around, restaurants, cafes, so you can have wine, beer, wherever you wanted to stop. And even sometimes going to the bar room is very comfortable because there is a restaurant or a place to go.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's nice when you have somewhere to go and kind of trick the mind a little bit to saying, man, let me have a good beer. That'll make it better.
yeah, and the food as well is fantastic there. So
Yeah, that helps out a lot. Good food, good drink, good hiking.
yeah, so that's nice. And what about keeping you hydrated? Hydrated.
Yeah, so as we're hiking, if I'm not in town, I'm filtering all of my water. So all of my
Okay.
water gets filtered regardless of what the source is. So for me, when I wake up in the morning, I do a very light breakfast, but I make sure I drink at least 32 ounces of water before I leave wherever I am in the morning. During the day, I may drink 6 liters of water on a really tough day. So I carry
Okay.
a Camelback, so I carry a hydration bladder on
Okay.
my pack. And they've done a lot of studies on this that show that if you are carrying a hydration bladder, that you tend to drink more water as you hike. It's much easier for me to grab my straw here and drink like this than it is for me to fumble around, reach behind my pack, grab my water bottle, drink, reach back around, put it back in. So staying hydrated, super, super important. Hydration and nutrition. Um,
Okay.
really important to get dialed down, especially if you're a person of smaller stature. You're going to go out for a long hike. You don't necessarily have the ability to lose 15 or 20 pounds when you're hiking. A tough day of hiking, you can burn 5,500 calories, 6,000 calories. I'm never able to replenish that much with what I'm carrying. Now, when I go into town, sure, I can replenish those calories very easily. But as I'm hiking, I have a very hard time replenishing that many calories.
Okay.
So, figuring out nutrition, really important. Figuring out how much water to drink and to always stay hydrated, very important. Um, yeah, and really, probably the biggest thing is to filter all of your water.
Well, well, thank you very much, Derek, today. And any final tips that you recommend to someone that is gonna plan a hiking?
Yeah, I think, to do some planning. When I did my AT hike, I did no planning, I did no preparation work. And the first month or so was really, really tough. So when you're looking at doing your hiking, getting in some physical shape is nice, but it's not really necessary because as you hike, you'll hike yourself into shape. I think what a lot of people don't focus on as much is the mental side of hiking and being out there for 40 straight days. That I think is much more difficult to grasp. When we're at home, we're in the city, we have enough distractions to keep our mind occupied. We can watch TV, we can go to the park. There's enough things out there, there's enough people to talk to. When you're hiking, you're in your own mind most of the time. It's a very solemn place to be. And if you don't have the ability to go into the recesses of your mind and cope with things, then it's all going to come forward as you're hiking because you're only have yourself to rely on. So I think that's something that a lot of folks need to understand. I mentally need to be prepared for what I'm going to do. If I'm mentally prepared, if I've gone through and gotten the correct gear, then all I have to do is go out and do it. And that's you've done most of the hard part of planning, preparation, getting the gear. Now you just have to go and enjoy it. Um,
Correct.
and I think that's the biggest thing is if you are going out and enjoying it, you're succeeding. And I think one of the biggest things that I tell folks is obviously for a lot of folks, the goal is a completed Camino or a completed AT hike. But I need to be prepared if I don't succeed in that for whatever reason, time constraints or injuries. I don't want to look at my trip as a failure if I don't complete the entirety of the trail. More than likely, the trail will be there, so I'll have another opportunity. But I want to focus less on, man, I didn't make my goal, I failed, and more on, wow, I saw this awesome place. I had this really good food. I met all of these fantastic people. That's really should be the takeaway from any of these kind of trips is the experience, not the A to B destination of getting there or not getting there. Enjoy your time out there. Make friends early. Because the friends that you make will end up being lifelong friends for a lot of those folks. So embrace the suck, enjoy it. For a lot of folks, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do a trip like this. So, stop and take pictures. Stop and have conversations. Don't ever look back on it and say, man, I wish I would have gone down that side trail to see that waterfall, or I wish I would have. There was really something I wanted to see in this town, but I was a little behind, so I skipped it. No. Every opportunity you get, go to a side trail, go see a waterfall, go see an old shrine or an old castle. Do all of those things. See and experience as much as you can, and have fun with it.
Yeah, what a fantastic advice. Very nice. And you summarize like in 2 minutes everything that is about having a hike trail, going to a hike trail. And it's an amazing experience. Once you leave it, you wanted to leave it again.
Yeah.
And again and again.
Yeah. And that I think, for a lot of folks, and especially young folks, a trip like this kind of sets you on a different path in life that you may not have necessarily thought you would go down. And if you're young and you're doing it, this could open up a new opportunity for you in life. So you continue to do the things that you enjoy doing and make that your job. If I can find a way to do what I love to do and get paid for it, then I'm the king of the world. So I think for a lot of folks, if I can go out there and do it and say, hey, I think this is an interesting thing, I think other people will find this interesting. You owe it to yourself to go try. You really do.
And the other thing that is really nice, that everything that you learn while you are walking, then you can translate that to your normal life.
Yeah.
You learn a lot over there.
Yeah, and you learn a lot about yourself when you're put in those situations, when there's nobody, you're out there alone, so there's nobody to call, there's nobody to come help, there's nobody that's going to carry your pack for you. You learn a lot about yourself, and you learn what's important, what's not important. You learn what you really care about and what you thought you did, but in reality, you might not be so important to you. So, yeah, I think for a long distance hike, I think the amount of growth you do as a human being, it far outweighs the mileage that you do, because you learn so much about who you are as a person. And doing a long distance trail will change you as a person. You doing it right, you won't be the same person you were when you started. You'll have, whether it's a religious or a cathartic experience out there, you should, in some sense, be a much different person when you finish. And I think if you find that, then you've really done it well.
Yeah, correct. Well, again, thank you very much, Derek, for your time today. And thank you to you, pilgrims, for watching us today. Please remember to add your comments on the comment section to let us know what would you like to see on future chapters, and that we will take in consideration your opinions. Thank you very much, and buen camino, everybody.
Thank you, Efren.